Hi. I want to make a video on another video on the subject of arguments and how people argue. And this has a lot to do with the whole I say no but I mean yes kind of thing, and how I can kind of see how people get off on arguments. How people like getting off on arguments. They argue. It leads nowhere, and they almost want you to tell them that they're wrong. And that's, I think, a way that a lot of people get off on arguments. It's almost a sexual thing to some people. I know it's kind of a silly topic, but that's something I've kind of noticed with people and how they kind of get off on watching other people put them down, and they like being wrong and they choose to be wrong, but that's a very dangerous thing to fake and act out. When you act like you're wrong, and you say the wrong things, you say them so wrong that someone that you know is so against what you're saying, or someone will be so against what you're saying, that you're going to spew something so vile out of your mouth. You're going to spew acid out of your mouth so vile that it almost can't be ignored, even by the ones that care very little about what you're saying. And the people will fall for it. It's very dangerous to start spewing things just because you get off sexually. Some people like being told and put in their place. It's a sexual thing. Sex controls a lot of people. You know how, if you're transvestite or if you're homosexual, you act like you're a girly girl many times. You're a flamboyant homosexual. And you start talking, and your whole sexual orientation controls how you interact with everyone around you. And that you start talking in a certain way, you start doing certain mannerisms, and you start doing things a particular way because that's the way. That's how much sex controls us. We're sexual creatures. Ooh, gooey gooey, yummy yummy, whatever. And transvestites, they change their sex because their sex is important to them. Why not just cut off your nutsack or take out your ovaries? Why not do that? Oh, that's right. Because life is sex. Without sex, you wouldn't have much of anything going for you anyway. So yeah, you need that to have some kind of purpose in your life. And to use arguments as an excuse to get off because you have nothing else to get you off, it's kind of obnoxious, and it's not going to do anyone any good. And if you want to be wrong and you want to say the wrong things just to get off sexually, I think you need to stop, because that's not going to do you or anyone any favors, but continuing the battle that doesn't need to continue happening just because you can't accept reality, because you get off on the lies and you get off on the argument. And in many cases they know this, but apparently their sexuality controls them more. Like I said, it controls you to your core because you're a sexual creature. Everything here is created out of some kind of sexual interaction. Even the asexuals, there's sex in it. There's something going on. There's something happening. And that happening can't be brought into a philosophical argument. You need to separate your sex and your philosophy, your fantasies and your philosophy. That's what I sense in a lot of people. They like doing because they're redundant. They like it. They know they're not making a good point, and they keep saying the same thing over and over again, almost in a way resorting to ad hominem attack. They're using that as a form of an argument, just saying what you're saying is wrong and not saying anything, and no retort or nothing in return, not giving any argument in return. And they just expect you to take that insult and insult them back because they want you to work on their level, and that's not going to work for most. No, it's going to work for some, a lot of them, but some of them won't fall for it. But if you don't fall for it, they'll just walk away because they're so pathetic and pitiful they can't do anything else because it gets them off. People get off on arguments, and they get off on you telling them they're wrong because they like it, and they get off on it, and they'll do it again and again. So sometimes it's on your responsibility to attack the argument from a different direction instead of just wanting to kill that person, because sometimes you just want to kill those people. You just want to kill them because they're not helpful or useful in any way other than to be a roadblock, and an obnoxious roadblock, but there's no one else to argue with sometimes, and you're sort of forced into situations where you're forced to argue with the people that the people that don't want to hear what you have to say. and you're kind of stuck just listening and taking what these obnoxious people have to say, and that's nothing. And they want to say the same redundant things, ad hominem attack, and things like that, or they just say you're wrong and they don't say anything. They don't have a return argument. They're not saying you're wrong and this is why. They're just saying you're wrong, you're stupid, and like I said, ad hominem attack. And they're not doing anything but attacking you and saying you're wrong and you're stupid and you're a hypocrite, and accusation one and accusation two, and nothing else, nothing more. And that's how people work, unfortunately. Why? If I have something negative to say about someone, I'd at least back it up with some kind of reasonable explanation. But apparently people can't do that. That's too much for them. But then they're smart. Oh, I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm a doctor, but I can't reason worth jack shit. Oh, that's neat. That's lovely. Yeah, you have your specialty like everyone else. Someone has something about themselves. Everyone has something about themselves that they specialize in. They're good at this, and they're maybe good at a couple other things. But when it comes to arguments, it seems like that's the least specialized thing that people have. And then they're good at arguing, but they're good at arguing the wrong things. They're good at attacking you. They have the veracity. They just don't have the logic or the arguments. And if they do, they have the facts on their side. They don't have the reasonable argumentative skills on their side. They have the facts. And when the facts are on your side, you don't need a good argumentative style to prove something. But also, you can tell a distinction between a person telling the facts and a person telling the facts and that knows something what they're saying and knows how to argue and prove a point, look at it from different angles. It's easy to spew facts. It's hard to spew facts from different angles and almost manipulating the language and manipulating it. When you're right, manipulating the language is a good idea. Manipulating it and using it to your advantage and coming at different angles from different point of views is always a good thing. And you can tell a person that just knows the facts and knows a good argument when they see one, and says a good argument when they know something and know how to argue or prove points. And that's exactly what many people don't seem to understand. It's easy. If you know something about politics, it's easy to talk fast and say point A, point B, and prove all sorts of different points and go through the list and say what's wrong and what's right. It's easy to point out the facts and say, I don't believe this is wrong. But it's hard to prove a point and be clever with your argument. Come at it from different points of view and try to almost, in a way, backfire the person's ad hominem attacks and their excuses and their accusations and their lack of any kind of return or retort or argument in return. You're wrong. Well, why am I wrong? You have no reason. You have no explanation beyond you're wrong, and that's it. You're wrong and nothing. 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 Ashes, dust in the wind. And that's all they have. You're wrong. Why am I wrong? You're wrong because you're a hypocrite. Okay, why am I a hypocrite? You're a hypocrite because you're wrong and stupid. Well, why stupid? Because you're wrong. Well, why am I wrong? And then they'll get pissed off and walk away. Because you just don't get it. Because they're stupid. Oh yeah, and they have no reason. They just don't like you. They're jealous of you. They want to continue the argument. They like to get off on it. They sexually get off on it. All sorts of reasons why a person would keep on doing that. They're jealous of whatever reason. They feel like they're at a dead end. They want to continue the thing. They want to continue the argument because they like doing the same thing. They like the redundant process of doing the same thing over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And they just don't want it to change. They want the same thing to happen. They're defending everything by not taking it seriously and a conversation that could change something, get out to people and change people's opinions. And they don't want that to happen. They don't want anything productive to happen. They just want the same old crap happening over and over and over again. That's all that's going to happen. If we don't get to the bottom of these things, and people want to keep on setting up roadblocks, and that's what they want to do. They want to be redundant and set up roadblocks. They want you to waste their time on them so that you don't accomplish anything. They have malicious intent. Even if it's not, they're in the way, and their pointless arguments aren't doing anything. Their pointless non-arguments aren't doing anything. Their pointless lack of arguments aren't doing anything. They're just getting in the way. So if you want to sexually get off, you want to be a roadblock, you want to do whatever for whatever reason, you want to get off on any kind of, you want to get off on an argument in any way, You need to just get the fuck out of the way, because you are no use to anyone that wants to make an argument worthwhile to anyone and try to convince people of the truth and the facts of reality. If you want to be a roadblock, you want to cause all sorts of malicious problems between people, you want to cause some kind of fight or battle, it's not going to work. At least not for me. I'm sorry. So I'm not going to play those games, and I'm not going to talk to people in the comments or anything. That's a waste of time. If anything, I'll interact through video if I find something worth saying or anything. But this is just something in general I've noticed. You need to bring a reasonable argument to the table, otherwise, I mean, you're part of the problem, and you're part of the proof that life just isn't worth it. You're just adding to the negative that's already too much to bear to begin with. Too much to exist, and you shouldn't have to add to that. But you're part of the problem, and you're just the one little sprinkle on top of the whole shitty cake, on the ice and the whipped cream, or whatever it may be you have on your cake. It's a little speck, and it's obnoxious, and it's in the way. It's the one piece of crap that's in the way that makes it so nauseous and vomit-inducing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, don't do that. That's just obnoxious. Don't get off on arguments. Don't feel like you're getting anywhere. It's not going to do you any good. And if you look in the mirror and you don't feel some kind of shame for doing such obnoxious road blocking, then sort of like blocking a highway and there's no road work happening, and they sit you, and sort of like they sit you in there and they just let you sit and wait for the next day so you can camp out in your vehicle. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing, but you're doing it over and over again, and you're defending everything that's happening when you're getting in the way. You're being a roadblock to an important argument, trying to prove important points about reality and what we can do about it. So don't do that, please. Take it to somewhere else, because it's not doing anyone any good. Sorry. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say, I think. So thank you, and until next time, bye.